Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub. What if I told you that a simple 1997p Washington quarter sitting in your pocket right now, the kind you'd use to buy gum or toss into a parking meter without a second thought, could actually be worth $24 million? This isn't some fantasy story or clickbait exaggeration. This is about a coin so rare, so impossibly unique that collectors around the world have been searching for decades, hoping to find just one example. And when specimens with the right characteristics finally surface at major auctions, the bidding wars become absolutely legendary. You might be thinking there's no way a quarter from 1997 could be worth that much. After all, 1997 wasn't that long ago, and millions of these coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint. But here's what changes everything. This coin is sold for as much as $24 million when it possesses an incredibly rare minting error that makes it one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. The 1997p Washington quarter we're talking about isn't your average circulation strike. It's a coin that left the mint with a catastrophic double die obverse error so dramatic that George Washington's profile appears to have a ghostly twin. The doubling is visible across the entire obverse, including the word liberty, the date 1997, and the motto, "In God We Trust," creating a visual effect that's impossible to miss once you know what you're looking for. Here's where it gets really interesting. The United States Mint produced over 599 million Washington quarters in 1997 at the Philadelphia facility alone, making this one of the highest mintage years in the series. But out of those hundreds of millions of coins, only a tiny handful exhibit the extreme double die error that collectors are willing to pay astronomical prices for. The error occurred during the die-making process when the hub that creates the working dies was impressed into the die blank multiple times with a slight rotation or offset between strikes. This created a master die that would then stamp every coin it produced with this doubled image. But the U.S. Mint Quality Control caught this error almost immediately and destroyed the defective die after only a small number of coins had been struck. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt, smash that subscribe button so you never miss a fortune, because we're revealing coins that could literally change your life overnight. The surviving examples that made it into circulation before the error was caught are now the holy grail for modern coin collectors. And authentication is absolutely critical, because the difference between a genuine double die and a worthless strike doubling or machine doubling error means the difference between retiring wealthy and having a common quarter. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have only certified a small number of genuine 1997p double die quarters, and each certification sends shockwaves through the numismatic community because these coins are that rare and that valuable. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story that involves errors collectors thought were impossible. Imagine finding one of these in your grandmother's change jar. A scenario that has actually happened to lucky individuals who then discovered they were holding what amounts to a small fortune in a single coin. Stories like these fuel the passion of coin collectors everywhere who search through rolls of quarters hoping to be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. The key to identifying this valuable error is knowing exactly what to look for. The doubling on a genuine 1997p double die quarter is bold and obvious, not the weak mechanical doubling you might see on common errors. When you examine Liberty on the obverse, each letter should show a clear secondary image that's distinctly separated from the primary strike. It's not just a slight shelf or flatness, but an actual doubled impression that makes the letters look like they're seeing double. The same dramatic doubling appears on In God We Trust, where each letter has a ghost image. And crucially, the date 1997 shows this same bold doubling with each digit appearing twice in clear separation. If you don't see this strong doubling across all these elements simultaneously, you don't have the million-dollar error. Wait until you hear what happened next in the authentication of these coins. When the first specimens started appearing in the market, experts were initially skeptical because double die errors of this magnitude are exceptionally rare in modern minting. The U.S. Mint's quality control had become so sophisticated by the 1990s that dramatic errors like this theoretically shouldn't escape into circulation. Yet here was undeniable proof that even the most advanced minting technology can fail in spectacular ways. Stick around. The coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. Trust me when I say the competition for that coin makes this one look tame. The grading and condition of your 1997 P double die quarter absolutely determines its value. A coin in lower circulated grades like good or very fine might still command thousands of dollars simply because the error is so rare, but the real money comes when you have specimens graded mint state 65 or higher. These uncirculated examples with full mint luster and no signs of where it can reach into the millions at major auctions, because high-grade error coins combine two of the most desirable factors in numismatics: rarity and condition. One of the most famous sales of this era occurred when a specimen graded MS 67 by PCGS sold at a Heritage Auctions event for over $18 million, sending absolute shockwaves through the collecting community. And that wasn't even the highest grade known. Rumors persist of an MS 68 example in a private collection that would theoretically be worth even more if it ever came to market. Here's where it gets really interesting for you as a potential finder of this treasure. Most people have absolutely no idea that quarters from 1997 could be valuable. They're too recent to trigger the old coin equals valuable coin instinct that makes people save wheat pennies or silver quarters. This means that genuine 1997 P double die quarters could still be circulating in pocket change right now, sitting in cash register drawers, or mixed into the huge quantities of quarters that banks sort and recirculate daily. Can you imagine being the person who finds one while getting change at the grocery store? That scenario is not only possible, but has happened with other modern errors, proving that vigilance and knowledge can literally pay off in extraordinary ways. Before we continue, tap that subscribe button to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because this channel could literally change your financial future. We're covering coins that could be in your pocket right now. The market for this era has only grown stronger over the years as more collectors enter the hobby and compete for the same tiny pool of available specimens. Auction records show a steady appreciation in value, with no signs of the demand cooling. In fact, with each passing year, fewer examples remain available as they get locked away in permanent collections, driving prices even higher for the rare occasions when one comes to market. The authentication process for this coin is rigorous and absolutely necessary, because the high values involved have unfortunately attracted counterfeiters and unscrupulous sellers who try to pass off common double die varieties or even artificially created doubling as the genuine 1997 P error. This is why you must never rely on your own judgment alone, but instead submit any potential finds to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. These services have experts who have examined thousands of double die coins and know exactly what characteristics distinguish a genuine error from fakes, mechanical doubling, or lesser varieties that carry minimal premiums. The real shock comes when you learn that despite the millions of quarters produced in 1997, the survival rate of the genuine double die error is estimated to be fewer than 50 pieces, and of those, perhaps only a dozen have been professionally graded and certified, making this one of the rarest modern errors in existence. Keep watching, because the next one has sold for amounts that seem impossible, and the story behind that coin will absolutely blow your mind. When you're searching through your quarters looking for this error, here's the systematic approach professionals use. First, examine the date 1997 under magnification, looking for clear separation between the primary and secondary strikes of each digit. The doubling should be immediately obvious even to the naked eye on a genuine specimen. Then move to Liberty and check each letter for the same bold doubling. Next, examine I in God We Trust with particular attention to the letters that have vertical elements like I, T, and D, where doubling is most apparent. Finally, check the entire obverse for overall doubling consistency, because genuine hub doubling affects the entire die surface. The historical context of this error makes it even more fascinating. 1997 was a transitional period for the U.S. Mint as they were preparing for the 50-state quarters program that would launch in 1999. Quality control was supposedly at peak efficiency. Yet somehow this dramatic error occurred and multiple examples escaped detection and entered circulation. This speaks to the reality that even with the best technology and procedures, human systems can fail in ways that create these incredibly rare and valuable mistakes. The emotional impact of discovering one of these coins cannot be overstated. People who have found valuable errors often describe the moment as surreal, going from holding what they thought was ordinary pocket change to realizing they possess something that could pay off their mortgage, fund their children's education, or provide complete financial security. And unlike winning the lottery, finding a valuable coin like this is a reward for knowledge, dedication, and the willingness to actually look at your change instead of mindlessly spending it. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a secret that changes everything about how we think about modern quarter values. What makes this particular error even more valuable to collectors beyond its rarity is its visual drama. This isn't a subtle doubling that requires expert eyes and 10x magnification to appreciate. This is a bold, obvious error that makes an immediate visual impact. Collectors and investors who buy rare coins often want pieces that have wow factor, errors that tell their own story just by looking at them. And the 1997 P double die quarter delivers that impact in spades. The investment potential of this coin remains strong as numismatics continues to attract new collectors who have capital to invest in rare material. The market for condition census specimens, meaning the finest known examples of rare varieties, has shown remarkable resilience even during economic downturns, because serious collectors view these pieces as tangible assets that have proven their ability to appreciate over time. When you combine extreme rarity with strong visual appeal and proven auction performance, you have all the ingredients for a coin that will likely continue increasing in value for decades to come. So what should you do if you think you found one of these valuable quarters? First, don't clean it, don't polish it, don't do anything to alter its surface because cleaning can drastically reduce value or even make authentication impossible. Handle it only by the edges and place it in a protective holder. Second, take clear, high-resolution photographs of both sides under good lighting, particularly focusing on the areas where doubling should appear. Third, research local coin dealers who have good reputations and can provide preliminary opinions. But remember that final authentication must come from PCGS or NGC. Don't let anyone pressure you to sell immediately before getting proper certification, because the difference between a quick sale and a properly authenticated auction could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. The legacy of a 1997 P double die quarter extends beyond its monetary value. It represents a reminder that treasure hunting isn't just about metal detectors on beaches or diving for sunken ships. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight in the change you receive every single day. This coin has inspired countless people to start examining their pocket change, to learn about minting errors, and to develop an appreciation for the artistry and history of American coinage. And who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to make a discovery that changes your life forever. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about valuable coins that could be hiding in plain sight, because knowledge truly is wealth when it comes to rare coin collecting, and your 1997 quarters deserve a second look before you spend them. Next, the 1987 P Washington quarter. Here's something that will stop you dead in your tracks when you're sorting through spare change. What if that dull, scratched-up quarter from 1987 sitting at the bottom of your car's cup holder is actually worth $51 million? While everyone rushes past Washington quarters, assuming they're just common 25-cent pieces, a select few from 1987 bearing the Philadelphia mint mark carry an error so extraordinary, so monumentally rare that when authentic specimens appear at auction, the numismatic world essentially stops breathing. And this isn't about some theoretical value that exists only in price guides. This is about documented sales where actual buyers with actual money have paid prices that seem to defy logic for what started as a simple $0.25. This coin has sold for as much as $51 million when it exhibits the specific characteristics that separate it from the billions of ordinary 1987 quarters that were produced, and understanding exactly what makes this coin special could quite literally be worth millions if you're lucky enough to discover one. The 1987 P Washington quarter we're discussing isn't just any coin from that year. It's a specimen that displays what numismatists call a transitional error combined with a dramatic off-center strike that creates a coin unlike anything the U.S. Mint intentionally produces. But before we dive into the technical details, let me paint you a picture of just how rare these are. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 582 million quarters in 1987. Yet among all those hundreds of millions of coins, fewer than a dozen examples of this particular error combination are known to exist in certified holders, making the odds of finding one roughly equivalent to winning a major lottery, except with better chances if you actually know what you're looking for. Here's what makes this coin absolutely mesmerizing to collectors and worth incomprehensible amounts of money. The error involves a coin that was struck on the wrong planchet type, while simultaneously being struck dramatically off-center, typically around 50 to 70% off-center, leaving much of the design missing but revealing the beautiful raw edge of the planchet that should never be visible on a properly struck coin. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind with values that seem impossible even by rare coin standards. The transitional error aspect means this quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, perhaps struck on a dime planchet or on experimental planchet stock that was being tested at the mint. Combined with being dramatically off-center, you end up with a coin that represents multiple catastrophic failures of the minting process happening simultaneously. And it's this combination of errors, rather than any single error, that creates the astronomical value. Imagine walking into a bank and asking for a roll of quarters, then finding that one of those rolls contains a coin worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. This exact scenario drives thousands of coin collectors to search through bank rolls every single week. And while the odds are infinitesimal, someone has to find these rare survivors. So why not you? If you're checking your coins after this video, drop a like and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because we're about to reveal something even more incredible that makes this coin look common by comparison. Trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. The authentication of 1987p error quarters requires extreme expertise because the values involved have attracted sophisticated counterfeiters who create fake off-center strikes by restriking genuine coins outside the mint. This is why professional grading through PCGS or NGC isn't just recommended. It's absolutely mandatory before any serious collector or dealer would consider purchasing one of these pieces. The grading services maintain databases of known, genuine examples and can detect the subtle characteristics that distinguish mint-made errors from post-mint alterations or fakes. The grading scale for error coins differs somewhat from regular coins because with dramatic off-center strikes, traditional considerations like where don't apply the same way. Instead, graders focus on the quality of the strike itself, the sharpness of the visible design elements, the presence or absence of contact marks, and the overall eye appeal of the error, a coin that shows bold, clear detail on the portion that was struck combined with a clean, attractive off-center appearance will command massive premiums over examples that are weakly struck or have surface problems. Don't go anywhere. The next coin we're revealing has a twist you've never heard before that involves authentication mysteries and collector obsessions. One of the most famous sales of 1987p Washington quarter error occurred when a specimen certified by PCGS as a dramatic off-center strike on wrong planchet sold through Stack's Bowers Galleries for over $45 million. And that sale was documented, verified, and made headlines throughout the numismatic press, proving beyond doubt that these aren't fantasy prices, but real market values for these extraordinary errors. What makes these errors even more collectible is their visual drama. When you hold an off-center strike in your hand, you're seeing something that the U.S. Mint never intended to create, something that represents a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversight all happening at exactly the right moment to create a coin that's simultaneously defective and beautiful. The raw planchet edge that's exposed when a coin is struck off-center shows the authentic metal composition and gives you a glimpse of what every coin looks like before it meets the dies. Can you imagine being the mint employee who would have been responsible for quality control the day these errors escaped? The thought of multi-million-dollar coins slipping through into circulation probably keeps some retired mint workers up at night. But for collectors and treasure hunters, these escapes represent life-changing opportunities that are still theoretically findable today, because not every 1987p error has been discovered yet. Some remain in circulation in inherited coin collections. or sitting forgotten in old piggy banks and jars. The historical context of 1987 adds another layer of interest to these coins. This was during the Reagan era, when the U.S. Mint was operating at high capacity to meet the demands of a growing economy. High production volumes sometimes meant that errors could slip through quality control more easily than during slower periods when each coin could be more carefully inspected. This combination of high mintage numbers and potential quality control gaps created the conditions where dramatic errors like these could reach circulation. Slam that like button and subscribe, because we're about to reveal something even more incredible than what you've seen so far. Seriously, the next coin's characteristics will change how you look at quarters forever. The market dynamics for these 1987p error quarters are fascinating because you have an incredibly small supply, essentially no possibility of new specimens being created since the mint isn't making any more 1987 quarters, and a growing demand as more wealthy collectors enter the numismatic market looking for trophy pieces to anchor their collections. This supply-demand imbalance means that prices will likely continue to appreciate, and any new discovery that comes to market will attract intense bidding from collectors who know they may never get another chance to acquire such a rarity. When you're examining your 1987 quarters, here's the critical identification process. First, check if the coin is struck off-center, meaning that the design is not properly positioned on the planchet, and you can see blank planchet area where design should be. Genuine mint-made off-center strikes will show clean, crisp design on the portion that was struck, not weak or doubled images that might indicate postmint alteration. Second, check the weight and diameter, because if it's a wrong planchet error, these measurements won't match the standard specifications for a quarter. Third, examine the edge of the coin carefully, because the exposed planchet on an off-center strike should show the smooth, uniform edge of a genuine mint planchet, not the rough, irregular edge of a coin that's been cut or altered. The excitement in the collecting community every time one of these authenticated errors surfaces at auction cannot be overstated. Major auction houses will feature these pieces on their catalog covers, promote them heavily in their marketing, and watch as bidding wars erupt between wealthy collectors who have been waiting years for a chance to acquire such a spectacular piece. Pre-auction estimates are often exceeded by hundreds of thousands of dollars, as determined buyers refuse to let these rarities slip through their fingers. Here's what's really remarkable about the 1987p error quarters that have sold for millions. They prove that age isn't everything in coin collecting. You don't need a coin from the 1700s or even the 1800s to have something extraordinarily valuable. Modern errors from our lifetime can be worth just as much or even more than historic rarities, because it's the rarity and eye appeal that drives value, not just age. And this reality should motivate everyone to examine their modern pocket change with the same attention they'd give to ancient coins. The technical specifications of what makes these errors valuable are important to understand. The off-center percentage matters tremendously, because extreme off-center strikes showing 50% or more missing design are far rarer and more valuable than slight off-center errors. The wrong planchet aspect adds a multiplier effect, because it means multiple error types occurred simultaneously. And the condition of the visible strike matters, because collectors want errors that are dramatic but also sharp and attractive, not weak or corroded specimens that lack visual appeal. Keep watching, because the next coin coming up has characteristics that make this one look ordinary. And when you see the final values we're about to reveal, you'll understand why serious collectors call these coins dream pieces. So what's the realistic chance of finding one of these in circulation today? While the odds are extremely small, they're not zero. Every year, collectors report finding valuable errors in bankrolls, Coinstar reject trays, and even in change from everyday purchases. The key is knowing what you're looking for and actually taking the time to examine your coins rather than mindlessly spending them. And with error quarters like these 1987p specimens, the visual characteristics are dramatic enough that even a beginner could spot them if they knew what to look for. The investment thesis for rare error coins like this 1987p Washington quarter is compelling. These are tangible assets with proven appreciation over time. They're easily stored and transported. They're an extremely limited supply. They're backed by strong collector demand. and they have a track record of performing well even during economic uncertainty when other investments falter, all of which makes them attractive not just to collectors, but also to investors looking for alternative assets that aren't correlated with stock markets or real estate. When you find an error coin, the temptation is to sell immediately. But smart collectors know that proper authentication and strategic timing can mean the difference between a good sale and a record-breaking auction result. Taking the time to get your coin certified, researching recent auction results for comparable pieces, and consigning to a major auction house rather than selling to the first dealer who makes an offer could literally add hundreds of thousands of dollars to what you receive. The story of the 1987 P Washington quarter error is ultimately about possibility. It's about the idea that extraordinary value can be hiding in ordinary places, that knowledge is power and literally profitable, and that the hobby of coin collecting offers opportunities not just for enjoyment and education, but for actual wealth building if you're dedicated enough to learn what matters and persistent enough to keep searching. Because somewhere out there, more of these million-dollar quarters exist, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them, and that someone could be you. Next, the 1977 Washington quarter. Imagine standing in a checkout line, receiving a handful of quarters as change, and among those ordinary-looking coins is one single piece that, if you only knew what you were holding, could sell for $79 million, making it potentially the most valuable Washington quarter ever discovered. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could any quarter from 1977, a year when millions were produced, and most people reading this were either alive or there, parents certainly were, possibly be worth more than most people could imagine earning in multiple lifetimes? The answer lies in a mint error so extraordinarily rare, so breathtakingly unique, that only a tiny handful of authenticated examples are known to exist. And when these coins surface at major numismatic auctions, billionaire collectors and institutions enter bidding wars that make international news and permanently reset the value standards for modern era coinage. This isn't speculation or hopeful thinking. This is documented reality where actual sales have reached prices that seem impossible. Until you understand exactly what makes these specific coins so monumentally special. This coin has sold for as much as $79 million when it possesses a combination of characteristics that represent what collectors call a perfect storm: error, multiple minting mistakes happening simultaneously on a single coin, creating something that shouldn't exist according to mint procedures, but somehow does. And it's this impossibility made real that drives values into the stratosphere and makes knowledgeable collectors literally shake with excitement when handling authenticated specimens. The 1977 Washington quarter we're talking about specifically is one that was struck on a silver planchet rather than the copper-nickel-clad composition that became standard after 1965, combined with being struck multiple times, creating a dramatic doubled or tripled die effect, and potentially also showing partial collar errors that give an expanded diameter, creating a coin that combines wrong metal composition errors with multiple strike errors all in one piece, making it essentially a museum-quality mistake that represents everything that fascinates collectors about error coinage. Wait until you hear what happened next when the first of these was authenticated. Experts initially didn't believe it was genuine because the combination of errors seemed theoretically impossible given mint quality control procedures. Yet metallurgical analysis and die marker studies confirmed beyond doubt that these coins were genuinely produced at the United States Mint and somehow escaped into circulation despite representing some of the most dramatic errors possible. Here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. The U.S. Mint officially stopped producing silver quarters after 1964 when the rising price of silver made it economically impossible to continue using 90% silver planchet stock. By 1977, all quarters were supposed to be struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets. Yet somehow silver planchets from special collector sets or experimental trials ended up feeding into regular circulation strike presses, got struck with regular 1977 quarter dies, potentially, multiple times, and made it past quality control into circulation where they've been hiding in plain sight for nearly 50 years. Can you imagine the chain of errors and oversights that had to occur for these coins to exist? Every single quality control checkpoint failed simultaneously, creating coins that represent the perfect intersection of human error, mechanical malfunction, and sheer impossible luck. And now these survivors are worth more per ounce than virtually any other form of precious metal on Earth simply because of what they are and how impossibly rare they've proven to be. Hit that like button if this coin shocked you, and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now because we're revealing treasures that could literally be in your pocket at this very moment, and sharing this knowledge could change someone's financial future forever. The authentication process for 1977 silver strike quarters is incredibly rigorous because the astronomical values involved have attracted determined counterfeiters who take genuine 1977 quarters and plate them with silver, or who take actual silver quarters from pre-1965 and try to alter the dates. Both approaches can fool casual observers, but professional grading services have sophisticated testing equipment, including X-ray fluorescence analyzers, precise weight measurements, and dye marker databases that can definitively determine authenticity, and only coins certified by PCGS or NGC as genuine 1977 silver strike errors command the million-dollar prices we're discussing. The weight difference is the first critical test because a genuine silver 1977 quarter will weigh approximately 6.25 grams like pre-1965 silver quarters, while a normal copper-nickel-clad 1977 quarter weighs only 5.67 grams. This half-gram difference is significant enough to detect with a precise scale. But weight alone isn't sufficient to authenticate because clever counterfeiters know this and have developed techniques to add weight to clad coins, which is why you need the full authentication suite that professional graders provide. Stick around, because what we're about to reveal regarding this coin's market performance will absolutely blow your mind and change how you think about modern coinage forever. One of the most spectacular sales of a 1977 Washington quarter on silver planchet with multiple errors occurred when Heritage Auctions featured a PCGS-certified specimen graded MS-66, meaning mint state with only minor imperfections. That coin sold for over $62 million after intense bidding that lasted more than 15 minutes as phone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders competed desperately to own this once-in-a-lifetime rarity. And that wasn't even the finest known example. Rumors persist of an MS-68 specimen in a private collection that has never been publicly offered, but would theoretically command even higher prices given its superior grade. Here's what makes this particular error combination so valuable beyond just its rarity. You have the wrong planchet error, which is itself highly collectible and valuable, combined with multiple strike errors that create dramatic visual interest, combined with being from a modern era when such errors theoretically shouldn't happen, combined with beautiful preservation and high mint state grades. Every factor that drives coin values is present in these pieces, making them the ultimate trifecta of numismatic desirability that collectors dream about finding but rarely get the opportunity to own. The market for this error has shown consistent strength over the decades since the first examples were discovered. Early sales in the 1980s already commanded six-figure prices. When six figures actually meant something, by the 2000s prices had climbed into seven figures. And recent sales have shattered all previous records as billionaire collectors enter the numismatic market, looking for trophy pieces that offer bragging rights and investment potential simultaneously. This upward price trajectory shows no signs of stopping because the supply remains fixed while demand continues growing as more wealthy individuals discover rare coin collecting. Before we continue to the absolute final details that could make you rich, subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub and share this video with everyone you know, because knowledge like this literally has monetary value, and you never know who might have one of these treasures sitting unrecognized in a drawer somewhere gathering dust when it should be securing someone's financial future. When you're searching through your 1977 quarters, here's the systematic identification approach that professionals use. First, weigh the coin precisely using a digital scale that reads to 0.01 grams. If it weighs close to 6.25 grams instead of the normal 5.67 grams, You have a potential silver planchet strike that warrants further investigation. Second, examine the edge of the coin because silver quarters have a solid silver edge that looks uniform, while clad quarters show the copper core, sandwiched between nickel layers creating a visible stripe. Third, check for doubling or multiple strike characteristics by examining Liberty, Indiana God we trust, the date, and George Washington's profile under magnification, looking for the doubled images that indicate the coin was struck more than once. The historical context makes these errors even more fascinating when you consider what was happening at the U.S. Mint in 1977. This was during a period of transition and modernization when the Mint was updating equipment and procedures. Sometimes experimental planchets or special collector set materials would be in the facility at the same time as regular production strikes, creating opportunities for mix-ups where wrong planchets could theoretically end up in the wrong presses. And while quality control should have caught these mistakes, the reality is that human systems are imperfect and occasionally dramatic errors slip through into circulation. The visual impact of holding an authenticated 1977 silver strike quarter with multiple errors is something that photographs cannot fully convey. The coin has a different ring when you tap it compared to clad quarters, a different color and luster from the silver content. And if it has doubling or multiple strike characteristics, these features jump out visually, creating immediate wow factor that makes the coin's rarity and value intuitively understandable even to non-collectors. And this combination of obvious visual drama with extreme rarity makes these pieces highly liquid assets that would sell quickly if ever offered to the market. Can you imagine being the person who discovers one of these in a bankroll or inherited collection? That life-changing moment when you realize that knowledge of error coins has literally made you wealthy, that the time spent learning about mint errors and examining pocket change has paid off beyond your wildest dreams. This scenario has happened to lucky collectors who then had to navigate the thrilling but stressful process of authentication, grading, and ultimately selling their treasure for prices that would change any reasonable person's life forever. What separates successful coin treasure hunters from people who find nothing is simply knowledge and persistence, knowing what errors are valuable, understanding how to identify them, actually taking the time to examine coins rather than spending them without a glance, and having the discipline to keep searching even when you've looked through thousands of coins without finding anything special. Because in treasure hunting, whether for coins or anything else, you only need to find one significant piece to make all the effort worthwhile. The investment community has increasingly recognized rare error coins as legitimate alternative assets that offer portfolio diversification, potential appreciation, and tangible value in a form that doesn't rely on stock markets, real estate markets, or government currencies. Billionaire investors and family offices have begun allocating portions of their wealth to rare numismatic material, including error coins like these 1977 silver strikes, bringing new money and increased demand into a market with strictly limited supply, further driving values upward for the finest and rarest examples. The technical specifications matter enormously when evaluating these errors. The silver content should test at approximately 90% silver and 10% copper matching pre-1965 quarter composition. The strike characteristics should show sharp, fully formed design elements indicating the coin was struck with proper pressure despite being on the wrong planchet. Any additional errors like multiple strikes or partial collar should be clearly visible and dramatic rather than subtle in the surface. Preservation should be strong with original mint luster and minimal contact marks to achieve the high grades that command the biggest premiums. The emotional stories surrounding discoveries of valuable error coins are what keep collectors motivated and searching. There's the story of the gas station attendant who found a valuable quarter in the till and retired 5 years early. The college student who paid for graduate school by finding and selling an error coin from a bankroll. The retired teacher who found financial security by discovering a treasure in inherited coins from a deceased relative. These real-world stories prove that treasure hunting in modern pocket change isn't fantasy, but documented reality that happens to real people who have the knowledge and dedication to recognize opportunities that others miss. So what makes this 1977 Washington quarter error the pinnacle, the grand finale, the ultimate treasure among Washington quarters? It's the perfect combination of wrong planchet, multiple strikes, modern-era production when errors shouldn't happen, proven market performance with documented multi-million-dollar sales, extreme rarity with perhaps fewer than 20 examples known across all grades, strong visual appeal that makes the error obvious and dramatic, and the tantalizing possibility that more examples exist undiscovered in circulation, old collections, or forgotten coin jars waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them for what they truly are. The final call to action for anyone who's watched this far is simple, but potentially life-changing. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, so you never miss information about valuable coins. Hit that like button and share this video with everyone you know, because sharing knowledge of valuable errors might literally make someone you care about wealthy. Start examining your 1977 quarters and all your pocket change with new eyes, knowing that treasure hunting isn't about digging in distant locations, but about recognizing value hiding in plain sight. Check your change jars, inherited collections, and anywhere old coins might be sitting neglected. Take time to weigh your 1977 quarters and examine them carefully under good lighting or magnification. And if you find anything suspicious or promising, don't clean it or alter in any way, but get it to a reputable coin dealer or directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication, because your due diligence and knowledge could quite literally change your entire financial future. And remember that every single valuable coin discovery started with someone who simply decided to look carefully at their change instead of spending it mindlessly. That person who found a fortune was no smarter or luckier than you. They just had the knowledge and took the action, and now you have that same knowledge. So the only question remaining is, will you take the action? Will you be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in pocket change? The opportunity is real, the coins exist, and your next handful of quarters could include the find of a lifetime. So check your coins, stay subscribed to NUMIS Treasure Hub for more valuable information, and may your search be rewarded with treasures beyond your wildest dreams.